Trump just launched military strikes in the Pacific Ocean, killing 5 people in 2 days while threatening to destroy Colombia's economy. "37 people are now dead in America's expanding war on drug cartels, and this is spiraling into the biggest crisis in Latin America in decades. We are witnessing the most aggressive American military campaign in Latin America since the War on Terror began, and almost nobody is talking about it. In the past 48 hours alone, the United States military has killed 5 people in the Pacific Ocean, expanded operations from the Caribbean to an entirely new theater of war, and President Trump is now in an all-out diplomatic war with Colombia that could reshape the entire hemisphere. Let me lay out exactly what happened, because this is moving at lightning speed. On Tuesday, October 22nd, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that U.S. forces struck a vessel in the eastern Pacific Ocean, killing 2 people. Then on Wednesday, just hours later, Hegseth announced a second strike in the same region, killing 3 more. That brings the total death toll to at least 37 people killed across 9 separate military strikes since September. And here's what makes this a game-changer. These are the first strikes in the Pacific. Every previous attack targeted boats in the Caribbean near Venezuela. Trump just opened a second front in his war on drug cartels. Hegseth said both vessels were operated by a designated terrorist organization and were transiting along known narco-trafficking routes. He compared the people killed to al-Qaeda terrorists. But here's the problem. The administration hasn't provided any evidence that these boats were actually carrying drugs or that the people on board were terrorists. No weapons shown, no drug seizures displayed, just missiles and death. Why does this matter to you? Because Trump is fundamentally redefining how America fights the drug war, and the consequences are enormous. The president told reporters he doesn't need any authority outside his own to launch missiles in international waters. Think about that for a second. No congressional approval, no international legal framework. Trump declared the United States is in an armed conflict with drug cartels, which means he's using the same legal authority that justified strikes against terrorist groups in Afghanistan and Iraq. Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, a Democrat, told Face the Nation that when Trump administration officials briefed Congress on these strikes, they had a very hard time explaining to us the rationale, the legal rationale for doing this, and the constitutionality of doing it. He revealed that Congress was told there's a secret list of over 20 narco organizations targeted by these operations, but lawmakers weren't given details. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Some of the people we're killing might not be drug traffickers at all. Colombian President Gustavo Petro claims that on September 16th, a U.S. strike killed Alejandro Carranza, a Colombian fisherman whose boat had malfunctioned. Petro said Carranza had no ties to drug trafficking, that he was a humble fisherman trying to feed his family, and that the United States murdered him with a missile. And it gets worse. Last week, the U.S. struck what officials called a drug-carrying submarine in the Caribbean. 2 people were killed. 2 survived. One of those survivors was Andrés Fernando Tufino Chila from Ecuador. His sister told CNN he's a fisherman, not a terrorist. Yes, he has a drug-related criminal record from years ago, but his family insists he went out fishing for work and got caught in America's crosshairs. The U.S. repatriated him back to Ecuador and Colombia instead of detaining him, which raises a huge question. If these people are really terrorists, why didn't we hold them? Do you think the Trump administration is targeting the right people? Or are innocent fishermen getting killed in this campaign? Comment yes or no, and tell me what you think. Now let's talk about Colombia, because this situation is exploding right now. On Wednesday, October 23rd, Trump told reporters at the White House that he's suspending all military aid to Colombia because of its alleged role in the international drug trade. He called President Petro a thug who is making a lot of drugs and warned him to watch it or will take very serious action against him and his country. Trump said Colombia has cocaine factories and described the country as a drug manufacturing machine. Petro fired back immediately. He announced on social media that he's going to sue Trump in American courts using American lawyers. He wrote, "From the slanders that have been cast against me in the territory of the United States by high-ranking officials, I will defend myself judicially with American lawyers in the American justice system." That's a sitting head of state threatening to sue the President of the United States for defamation. This is unprecedented, folks. Colombia has been one of America's closest allies in Latin America for 200 years. We've given Colombia $230 million in aid this year alone. Much of that money goes toward fighting the very drug cartels Trump claims Petro is protecting. And now Trump is cutting it all off and accusing Colombia's president of being a drug trafficker himself. Last weekend, Trump went even further, calling Petro an illegal drug leader strongly encouraging the massive production of drugs. He threatened to raise tariffs on Colombian exports, which would devastate Colombia's economy. The United States is Colombia's largest trading partner, accounting for 30% of all Colombian exports. We're talking about oil, coffee, flowers, gold, fruits, and manufactured goods. If Trump imposes tariffs, millions of Colombian workers lose their livelihoods. Is Trump justified in cutting aid to Colombia, or is he destroying a critical alliance? That's the question we need to answer. Now, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story is developing every single hour, and you need to stay informed. Here's what makes this entire situation so complicated. Colombia is the world's #1 producer of cocaine. That's a fact. The country accounts for nearly 2/3 of global cocaine production, according to the United Nations. Coca cultivation hit an all-time high last year. So Trump isn't wrong when he says Colombia has a massive drug problem. But here's what Trump is missing. Petro has actually been one of the most aggressive opponents of drug trafficking in Colombian history. When he was a senator years ago, he held high-profile hearings that exposed the inner workings of cocaine cartels. He made enemies among the most dangerous criminals in the world because he fought to destroy their operations. And demand from American drug users fuels the entire cocaine trade in Colombia. So, there's plenty of blame to go around. The real issue is that Trump and Petro are both strong-willed leaders who disagree on almost everything. Petro is Colombia's first-ever left-wing president. He's a socialist who opposes American-style capitalism. He's criticized U.S. military interventions, and he went to the United Nations General Assembly in September and told American soldiers to disobey Trump's orders. That's when the State Department revoked Petro's visa. The first time that's happened to a Colombian leader in 3 decades. So now we have a full-blown diplomatic crisis. Colombia recalled its ambassador to Washington. Trump suspended all military aid. Both presidents are insulting each other on social media every day. And the 200-year alliance between our countries is hanging by a thread. What does this mean for America? Let me break it down into 3 critical areas. First, national security. If we destroy our relationship with Colombia, we lose our most important partner in the fight against drug cartels. Colombia has been helping us track smuggling routes, conduct interdiction operations, and dismantle trafficking networks for decades. Without that cooperation, more drugs flow north. It's that simple. Senator Kelly pointed out that the drug routes through the Caribbean on boats are predominantly used to bring cocaine to Europe, not the United States. Most fentanyl comes through Mexico by land, not by boat from South America. So Trump's entire strategy might be targeting the wrong supply chain. Second, regional stability. Trump has deployed an unusually large military force to the Caribbean Sea and waters off Venezuela since this summer. Warships, fighter jets, drones, it's a massive buildup. Everyone knows Trump wants to topple Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who faces narco-terrorism charges in the United States. By expanding strikes into the Pacific and threatening Colombia, Trump is opening multiple fronts simultaneously. That increases the risk of miscalculation, accidents, and unintended escalation. Third, economic impact. If Trump raises tariffs on Colombian goods, American consumers pay more for coffee, flowers, and produce. If he cuts aid to Colombia, he undermines anti-drug programs that directly benefit American security. And if he destroys the U.S.-Colombia relationship, China and Russia will be thrilled to step in and fill the void. That's exactly what we don't want. Let me give you the opposing view, because it's important to consider all perspectives. Supporters of Trump's approach will say that decades of the traditional drug war failed. We've spent billions on aid to Latin American countries, and cocaine production keeps rising. Fentanyl overdoses keep killing Americans. So maybe it's time to try something radically different. Maybe the threat of military strikes and economic punishment will finally force these countries to take the drug trade seriously. And maybe Trump's willingness to confront left-wing leaders like Petro and Maduro will restore American dominance in the hemisphere. I understand that argument. But here's my take. Strength without strategy is just chaos. Yes, America needs to be tough on drug cartels. Yes, we need to hold our allies accountable. But launching missile strikes without clear evidence, alienating our closest partners, and operating without congressional oversight or international legal authority. That's not strength, that's recklessness. And that's the real tragedy here. While Trump and Petro fight, the actual drug cartels keep operating, the cocaine keeps flowing, the violence continues, and families on both sides of this conflict suffer the consequences. So here's my final question for you, and I really want to hear your opinion. Do you support Trump's military strikes against alleged drug boats, even if innocent people might be getting killed? Or do you think the president needs to provide evidence, work with Congress, and rebuild relationships with our Latin American allies before launching more attacks? Comment below and let me know where you stand, because this debate is defining America's future in the Western Hemisphere. Are we a nation that uses military force with precision and accountability? Or are we willing to kill first and ask questions later?
If you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos.